you found why we are Christians. This is a conversational interview designed to talk about how a person became a Christian and then what followed. Now, Ulis. This is Ulis Joel Redic. He just usually goes by Ulis Redic, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Ulis, here we are, our second part, and we've talked about how you became a believer in Jesus, but I want to go back to a statement you made in this form you made out for us. You said, the early days of a Christian, my teenage years were not the typical experience. I didn't have the urges and pressures to experiment with drugs and alcohol, not suggesting that was perfect. I surely wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
I just had a fear for God.
Yes.
Now that is very interesting.
Yes,
I just had a fear for God. Ulis, can you describe what that was about?
Certainly. I, again, being raised in the type of home I was raised in, I tell my friends often, I think that my house was the last house to purchase cable.
Cable.
Okay, we didn't have cable, and it wasn't that we couldn't afford cable. It's just that that's how serious my parents were in terms of really truly guarding what we watched as kids. They didn't want us, and of course, going to a public school or any school for that matter, you're gonna meet other students and be exposed to different things. But as far as the house was concerned, they did their very best to make sure that we were brought up in a way that would set us up well for life. And so never got involved with drugs, never got involved with alcohol. I was in love with Jesus, still in love with Jesus. And I wanted to be used by God. Now, I didn't really know what all God had for me. I'm only 29 years old now. I still don't know what all God has for me. But growing up, I knew that God had something for me to do. And all I knew is that I wanted to just make sure that I could be used by him. And that doesn't suggest that God can't use anyone who perhaps in teenage years was involved with alcohol or drugs, but I just, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That is a wonderful testimony. I'm once in a while I've encountered this, and usually it's because that you had parents
Yes.
who were real followers of Jesus, the real deal. You are just about to get involved with a lady by the name of Helen Stevens,
That's
Dr.
right.
Helen Stevens.
Yes, sir.
And I just loved talking with Arnold. I would go and talk with Arnold. Arnold and I would sit off someplace and talk.
Yes, sir.
Her husband, what a great man he was.
He certainly
was.
was.
Oh, he was so special.
Yes.
So bring us up. How did you get involved with Helen Stevens?
Well, my parents saw early on that I had a gift for piano and organ. They knew that I could listen to a song once and then play it back, just like that, on the piano, just like that.
I can't believe that.
Yeah, and so my dad in particular, him being a pastor and him, wanting me to be the musician at the church, he wanted me to learn how to read the music. He knew even then that that's going to be a necessary skill. Your ears can only take you so far. You're gonna need to learn how to read the music. And so eventually we found out about this woman named Helen Stevens. And this was the summer between 6th grade and 7th grade.
Wow, that's early.
I'll never forget it.
Early. Wow.
I'll never forget it. I didn't know her. She didn't know me. And so my mother took me out to her house there in Carriage Hills, California, Carriage Hills. She put a piece of music in front of me. And she put the music in front of me. She said, "Can you play this piece of music?" And sadly, I said, "No, I can't play that." I don't know what those dots are on, you know. And so she started me off with the basics of how to read music. What are the notes on the staff, the lines, the spaces, and all those kinds of things. She made the statement to me at the very first lesson. She said, if you ever come into this house not knowing your lesson, I'm going to get you with a ruler. Many times, I did not have my lesson together. I'll never forget it. And so quite a few times she got me with a ruler, she got me with a pen, she got me on one account with a magazine. And so, and many times I didn't want to go back to her house. Many times I didn't want to see that woman another day. I would be just fine if I never saw her
Well,
again.
did she hit you on the hand?
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Right on the knuckles.
Right on the knuckle.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Yeah, she wasn't playing with me. And so I didn't want to be involved with taking piano lessons from her anymore. My parents made me go back. Helen Stevens didn't know that I could play the piano already before coming to her to learn how to read music. I think that she thought that I was just a young, student trying to play piano, not knowing that I already knew how to play. So I think when she found out that I could actually play the piano, that I actually knew how to play gospel music, and that I was playing already for the churches there at my dad's church in Richmond, she started to like me a little bit more. I'll put it like that. And so she started to allow me to play for her children's choir out of Oakland, the Angelic Voices, and then moved on up. I grew older to play for the Young Adult Voices. And then there's her choir there in Oakland, Northern Cal, chapter GMWA.
Oh, yes.
And so she allowed me to do some playing with the adult choir, all the while I'm still a teenager. And so years passed, and then she started inviting me across the Richmond-San Rafael Bridge to this group of people, never heard of them before, but immediately I fell in love with them, the Lighthouse Singers of Marin County.
Right.
And the rest is history. It started off just me playing a couple of songs while Helen directed the Lighthouse Singers. And then she would put me up to direct a song. And then she would give me the opportunity to teach a song. Many opportunities came with being connected with Helen Stevens and Lighthouse Singers of Marin. I didn't know that even back then, God was giving me a glimpse of what was to come. I never knew, never would have imagined that years later, I would be the lead director of Lighthouse Singers of Marin County.
Tell us a little bit more about Helen. Mm-hmm. Because she's, to a fairly substantial audience, very well known, was really had really impacted a lot of people's lives.
Yes, sir.
Through gospel music.
Mm-hmm.
How long has she been gone now? It's been a couple of years.
I believe she passed away the same year I graduated from Patton, so that was 2014.
Okay, so it's been 5 years ago, that long. And Arnold preceded her.
Yes.
A year or two before.
Yes, I can't remember what year it was.
Yeah,
but
something like that. So where did all these choir members come from?
Well, now it's a new generation. It's a new group of Lighthouse. So when I first started coming to Lighthouse as the director, as the lead director, and by the way, this past December I just celebrated 10 years with Lighthouse. 10 years.
Really, 10 years.
10 years as director. Okay. When I first got to the choir as lead director, the choir had gone down in terms of numbers. People got older, people moved away. That group of Lighthouse had been singing since the 80s. And so, life happens and people move on. I was lucky to have 6 people on a Friday night.
Really?
6 people.
Wow.
6 people.
You hung with it, Ulis.
By God's grace, I stuck with it. I hung in there. was a young choir director. I was young. I didn't really know everything I thought I knew, and they knew it, you know. And so I think they tried to hang in there with me at first. Some years into these past 10 years, I got really serious about Lighthouse. I started taking the job really serious, being faithful to the assignment. I think when I first came here as lead director, it was just a hobby to me. And I treated it like it was just a hobby. But I think once I grew older and grew in Christ, I began to see that this was a God-given assignment. Of course, have fun with it, have fun, enjoy what you're doing, but don't forget, this is ministry that we're doing over here in San Rafael. And the moment I got serious and started being faithful to the call, the assignment here in San Rafael, people started coming back to the choir. New faces started coming to Lighthouse. So now on any given Friday night, we average about over 30 people, about 30,
Really?
35 people.
Yeah, and new people can come and join.
Yes, they can.
And they're going to see on the screen right about now your email address.
Yes, sir.
And that they are free to email you.
Absolutely.
And find out about the details about how they can come and be a part of Lighthouse. Do they have to try out?
No auditions.
No audition?
No auditions.
No audition?
No.
Okay. And I think it costs about $40 a month.
That's right.
$40 a month.
That's right.
And they can come on Friday nights. And where are you meeting now?
Right now we're at First Presbyterian Church of San Rafael, located on the corner of 5th and E.
Just about 5 blocks away from
That's
right
right.
here.
That's right.
Okay, Friday nights, and at the Presbyterian Church in San Rafael. Lighthouse Singers of Marin, I think is the full title.
Lighthouse, now, you know, we became a 501c3, so we had to change the name a little bit. So now it's Lighthouse Singers Gospel Choir.
Oh, is that right? Okay. All right, very good. And where do you get the music that you sing? Do you write any of it, Ulis?
You know, I haven't really tapped into the songwriting gift. I think I have it, but I haven't really tapped into it yet. So unfortunately, no.
Okay.
I get a lot of the songs. We do a lot of traditional gospel music. Of course, we do a lot of the newer things too, but I try to keep the traditional gospel music. So reaching back to the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, a little bit of the 90s. In gospel music, yeah.
So you got a lot of white people singing black gospel music.
That's right. We do.
That's great stuff.
We do a lot of Walter Hawkins, Edwin Hawkins, Love Center Choir. We do a lot of that stuff.
Okay, now there's a gentleman, one of my favorite guys.
Yeah.
Wrote a lot of music for Lighthouse.
Yes.
Back in the day. Stephen Roberts.
Yes, sir.
I used to love talking to Stephen Roberts.
Yes, sir.
What a great guy.
Yep.
Oh, a genius. I love his music.
He is.
Do you do any Stephen Roberts songs?
We do a lot of Stephen songs.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Have you seen Stephen recently?
I saw Stephen not too long ago, last month.
Oh, did you?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great man.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It was fun to see him grow into that, and he became a real treasure.
Yes, sir.
Of gospel music, and hear him play and lead a choir. I love to watch him lead a choir. Oh, he's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah.
You ever think you maybe pastor?
No.
No?
No. I'm working on my Master's of Divinity.
Oh, that's right.
Yes.
No,
I attend Satellite.
Oh, in Fremont.
In Fremont.
Oh,
yes, sir.
okay. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay. Gateway, I, of course, graduated at the same school, different name.
Different name.
Katie
Yeah.
graduated from the same school. So you're working for a Master of Divinity.
Yes, sir.
And you think you're not going to pastor, huh?
Well, my take on it is this. Whatever God has for me, I just want to be obedient to the call that God has on my life. If it's pastoring the people, if it's being a minister of music, if it's serving soup at the soup kitchen, whatever it is, I just want to be obedient to God.
Well, if I quit pastoring at Miller Avenue, we might give you a call.
Well, we'll pray about it. We'll pray, whatever God says. Yes, sir.
I plan to keep going. I'm one of the Baptist preachers. We're going to die preaching.
Yes, sir.
That's it. Carry me out. Hope I have my cowboy boots on that
That's
day.
right. That's right. Yes, sir.
Now, I know that you've been married. You got married a couple of years ago.
That's right.
Well, come on, you got to tell me about that.
Well, we've been married now for 2 years and some change. Almost 2 years and a half now. I'm enjoying it. We're happy.
How'd you meet her?
I met her through, again, Helen Stevens had that choir in Oakland.
Okay.
Well, one third Sunday night at a Baptist church in Oakland, New Hope Baptist Church, I'll never forget it. The name of that choir is Northern Cal. And so Northern Cal had a singing engagement on that Sunday night at her church where her uncle was pastoring. And so I was, on to play for the youth choir. And her name is Diana. She was on to sing a solo because that particular service was a concert, an appreciation concert for her grandmother, who was the musician at New Hope. So looking back on it, it's like, wow, God really mapped that thing out. Here I am, I'm the little young guy that's directing this huge, massive choir, playing for this huge choir. And there's a young lady on program before we take the stage. There's this beautiful African-American, dark-skinned young lady. And she got up there and she wore the house out. She sung a song. I'll never forget it. It's called Only What You Do for Christ Will Last. And, a lot of people had never heard of her back then. And so she has this really high-pitched voice. You hear her and it's like, where's that voice coming from? How did you do that? And so we, after that, I wasn't interested in her. She wasn't interested in me. And so, it was just a hi-bye thing. Years had gone by. She, since then, had relocated to Texas, to Houston, Texas. She moved back to the Bay Area, and we met up again there at New Hope. And so we immediately became the best of friends. She was pursuing her music career, I was pursuing mine, and her being a soloist with a fantastic voice, she started singing at various churches around the Bay Area. Well, she needed a musician. And so that's how that came to be. I started off as the musician. Now I'm the musician and I'm the husband.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Uh-huh.
Okay. So you're playing the piano for her.
Yeah.
And I don't know her. I've never met her.
Mm-hmm.
I hope to one day.
Absolutely.
I should have asked you to bring her over with you, if possible.
Yeah.
But we could have arranged the set differently and talked with both of you.
Yes, sir.
I'm a little slow, Ulis. Maybe one day we'll get her over here.
Yes, sir.
But well, that's terrific. So you guys have been married about 2.5 years,
Mm-hmm.
and so you're both attending which church?
So I'm at Mount Zion Baptist Church.
That's
Richmond.
right.
Now she's working at a newer church out in the Antioch area called the Rock Church.
The Rock Church?
Yes, sir.
I think I've heard of that.
Yeah.
I think I've heard of that.
Great ministry out there.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
in Antioch.
Mm-hmm.
I know Antioch to some degree.
Yeah.
So now we got almost 7 minutes, and in the form that you filled out for us, Ulis, you talked about the millennials, your generation, my twin daughter's generation.
Yes, sir.
And statistics are that they have not found it part of their lifestyle to come to a brick and mortar church.
Yes, sir.
And any ideas why?
I believe that my generation unlike other generations. Now, other generations in the past have wondered, perhaps, is God real? Does he really exist? But those generations of the past have always stayed with the church. They stayed with God. My generation, I would like to think, is one of the first to really ask the question, is God real? And then oftentimes give the answer to the question, I don't think God is real. I've heard some of my friends, clearly non-Christian friends, say, if God was real, how is it that all of this, bad stuff, evil things going on in the country, God wouldn't allow this. If God was real, this stuff wouldn't be going on. And so I think that that's a question that millennials often wonder. Does this God thing really work? Is God real? They know that there's something spiritual, there's some kind of a higher power. But this is the generation, these are the days where my generation and perhaps even the group after me are looking for a non-organized religion. So the whole going to church every Sunday thing. Yeah. Now that could be a California thing.
I don't think it is. I was seeing in the magazine Barna Research,
Yes.
found that there are more people that are not, more actual Christians that are not going to church than are going to church.
Mm-hmm.
It's like 52% of the
Wow.
Christian population that they surveyed, they identify as Christian, but they involved with no church.
That's right. That's right. And I think even in the Bible Belt, shockingly, even in the Bible Belt, there's a decline in our churches. If I could just say anything to a millennial that's watching this broadcast, I would tell them, trust in God. Don't allow whatever it is that you're facing, don't allow the reality that you're living in to detour you away from God's promises for you, the love of God that he wants to give you. God gave his son for you. That's if I could talk to a millennial or anyone else for that matter that needs to hear that, I would tell them that it's not about the trends that's coming up in our lifetime. It's not about, because all those things are going to fade away. But God will always be around. The love of God will always be here. And so I have a love for my generation.
And I do too, because of my two younger daughters, and who I said are exactly the same age as you are. And what we can, I think, look forward to and perhaps pray for is another great outpouring of the Holy Spirit.
Yes, sir.
An awakening, Holy Spirit awakening, conviction of sin, revealing of Jesus. And I like to say, until then,
Yes.
we keep on working.
That's right.
Jesus said, go make disciples. So we go.
That's
I
right.
can see
That's right.
a going.
That's right.
A going. We are going. And I think if there has been a problem with the millennials, I think that the last generation of church have not gone.
Absolutely.
I think
agree.
we have not gone.
Absolutely.
We've settled into other business.
Yes, sir.
Improving ourselves, creating feel-good experiences,
Yes, sir.
and not taking up the cross and following Jesus as we are called to do. Your favorite verse, Romans 8:28.
Yes, sir.
Oh, let's hear it.
And we know that all things work together for the good of them who love the Lord and who are called according to his purpose.
Exactly right.
Yes,
Romans
sir.
8:28.
Yes, sir.
And before I ask you, can you describe yourself in terms of a theology? And you quote the Mark 4:35 to 41.
Yes, sir.
Which is Jesus calming a storm.
That's right. That's right.
Jesus calming the storm.
Yes, sir.
No, that's quite. I read that this morning.
Yes,
I was
sir.
looking over your paper. I thought, what did he come up with that for?
I oftentimes think of myself as one of those disciples who was on the boat. And I think Jesus often has to reintroduce me to his power by way of a storm. I look back over my life, and even going back to 2008 when I lost my brother, that was a storm. But I believe that God had to use a storm like that to grab my attention. Yes, I was raised in a Christian home. I was raised in a Baptist. My dad was a pastor. I'm the pastor's child, the pastor's kid. So surely the pastor's kid has a perfect relationship with God. And I knew about God. I was saved, salvation, all of that. But I needed a storm. I needed the perfect storm.
I understand your liking of that passage. Thank you, Ulis, for being here.
Yes, sir.
It's been a great time. And I hope folks will check out Lighthouse Singers of Marin.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes, sir.
So be looking for more programs on why we are Christians. So long.